Have you ever gone on Dokkan Twitter and you're just bombarded by number one, number two, number three, number four, not top one, not top two, not top three. They're the best. They're actually trash. They're the GOAT. They get killed in one turn. Like, what is up with Dokkan Battle's addiction, the community? What is up with their addiction to tier lists? I guess it's just an internet thing, huh? Like, you play League of Legends, you play fighting games, you do this, you do that, and people are just addicted to telling you who they think is the best objectively. This is my objective tier list. This is what the tiers are looking like at the top, right? And I guess it's just one of those things where, I mean, Truth said it himself, he puts them up because people want them, right? They do well, they bait easy, they create controversy, they create conversation, and it just becomes this easy cycle to continue to generate content, right? So I'm on Dokkan Twitter and I see someone say, heard talks of Omega #1, let me see how he does. And it's just one of those baity clips where, you know, Omega gets blown up and it's, you know, whatever, right? Who cares? And Truth said, we've entered into a funny era of Dokkan Twitter. No unit is without weakness right now. If there is a particular unit you don't like, it is very easy to farm clips like of virtually every character. Very clear to me that the devs want characters used based off matchups for specific fights. Probably one reason they have spammed new stages like never before. And I don't know if last year even had 25% of the amount of content we have gotten this year. And for that reason, actually, let me swap over momentarily to one thing. I'll be right back. So here we are. This is the Honkai Star Rail tier list. You know, it's just one of many. And you don't have to know anything about Honkai Star Rail. I just want you to look at my mouse pointer right here. You see me circling these characters. These are the DPS characters that are considered tier 1 or tier 0 in this case. Z tier, as it were. And this is Memory of Chaos. Watch this. Where'd they go? Where'd they go? Where'd they go? This is the thing that Truth is talking about, right? They want the characters to be used based off matchups for specific fights. This is something Dokkan has struggled with. 1 second, by the way. Tier 0 DPS, look at it. Where'd they go? You know, some of them are back. There's some overlap here, but I know you're not seeing the exact same list, right? Where'd they go? So it's just one of those things where I'm really interested in this phenomenon, and it's because I love video games, because I love game design, I love thinking about game design. I'm not a game designer myself, I'm not a dev or anything. I just love thinking about how other people perceive games, especially someone who's played fighting games, which is seen as a very hard genre to get into, a genre that most people just get bounced off of, and how a lot of this stuff interacts, right? Because in fighting games all the time, you'll see someone, I gotta play top tier, I gotta go to the tier list, and not understanding that those tiers are made for the very, very top end of player. They're not made for you playing with your friends, they're made for people trying to win money in tournaments. But where does Dokkan fit in then? Because Dokkan, like Honkai Star Rail, is a PvE game. There is no incentive for you to actually care about tier lists, except, and here's the crux of the video, why do I make tier lists? And you might say, well, you want views. Sure. Let's just, you know, bad faith reading. Let's say you want views. I think what is important about Dokkan, and let's go to the one I made before, is letting people know where to spend their stones so that they don't feel forced to spend money. Because gacha are predatory, right? And so you can see characters like Tech Shenron and the Strength Shenron here, who at the time they weren't released. Same with this Vegeta and this Goku, right? At the time they weren't released. And because they weren't released, I said I don't feel comfortable saying that they're up here, even though I would say Shenron's up here now, especially if you want to play the Omega team. But I didn't feel comfortable saying that because I don't want to trick people into thinking that they need to spend or pull or use their special stones that were around at the time, right? So instead, what I do is I say account defining. If you have these 5 characters, these are the characters who will most likely show up on teams on average. Now, we can, of course, add someone like, I guess he's not down here yet, but the new Yellow Coin. I believe he's Yellow Coin. No, he actually is DFE. The new Gohan and Goten and Trunks character to this list, right? They'd be up here somewhere. But guess what? I wouldn't put them #1, they're the best or anything. This is just ordered by color. This is just ordered by, hey, I think these characters are useful. By the way, I'd probably move this character down and I'd put the Gohan up. That's just me. Or I would just add the Gohan in general. But this isn't really a tier list video. What this is made to do is that if you're a new person and you see 2 or 3 of these characters on a banner, you know that there is value in the banner. You know that there is value in pulling. That way, you're not pulling on the Gohan, Trunks, and Goten banner with 12 featured units just getting fucked on your stones because you didn't save pity. A lot of people hate when you play gacha and you tell them the truth. A lot of people in the world right now hate when you tell them the truth, especially when you're not looking to, like, you know, pick a fight or anything. If you're just speaking plainly, if you say, hey, I wouldn't pull here because you'll ruin your account for 6 months if you don't hit, they hate that. They want to say, no, I'll just hit. Someone says, the solution is to ignore Dokkan Twitter and just have fun with the game. I'm going to be a bit of an asshole here, but Dokkan Twitter doesn't care for the game or Dragon Ball as a whole. Literally ignore them. Truth is not wrong. We move over here to where someone's saying, what the fuck is this unit? This unit is putting up banger screenshots right there. Number 1, LOL. And by the way, look at where we went. We went from any unit can get caught and, you know, Dokkan Twitter is obsessed with this to this character's number 1, by the way. You know what I mean? Like, which is fine to say. But one thing I want you to take from this, if you take nothing else, if you've only watched for these 6 minutes as this video has been going, is please avoid the tier list discourse. It really doesn't matter. Things like this, which are just vibe checks, things like just like putting the knowledge out there that, like, hey, if you want to have fun with your account and you want the most bang for your buck in this case being your stones, make sure to just be pulling around the top core of characters so you don't ruin your stone count on banners that don't matter, right? You know what? How would you feel if you got Daima Vegeta and you couldn't run him anywhere? Even though it seems like Daima Vegeta is back to some degree, but you know what I mean. And then the last gut punch in this conversation is, of course, Minato saying, so many people call these gimmick fights, what do you even mean? And, you know, again, Truth comes in here, Vector comes in here saying, I don't know if I like to call them gimmick fights, but I don't know if I take them seriously either. This is where we get into the thing of, like, the reason I didn't respect festival battles as, like, content that would be long lasting is because the formula, the format just wasn't sustainable. You know, I can't look at the lists I make. The lists I make are to tell you that if you look for these banners, try not to waste your stones, because then you might be tempted to spend money. Remember, gacha are evil, so you don't want to spend money on nothing. So the lists I make are just saying, hey, these are the characters that are pretty account defining. These are the ones that are kind of necessary, quote unquote, to actually enjoy the game if for the next, like, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Remember, Dokkan works in content cycles, right? So these are characters that are kind of necessary to get the most enjoyment out of the game as it is. And for me, I didn't see festival battles being respected by the devs enough even. The devs weren't putting out enough festival battles characters to make me think otherwise. It is what it is. You know, Vegeta and Trunks are a good example of like, you know, we're like 4, 5, 6 months removed from festival battles, and finally we get like this crazy easy A character for it, right? So that's just me. So I was telling people, I'm not going to grade characters primarily around a fight that I'm expecting a new player, a low spending player, a free to play player, a non-content creator to spend 4 hours playing. Are you kidding me? That doesn't have any bearing to me. Whereas like these fights that are just like big attack damage, you can dodge it. Okay, that's a gimmick fight now. Like, it is what it is. You might die, but hey, guess what? You know, the new Gohan, Trunks, and Goten don't die. Omega clears that fight. You know what I mean? Like, oh, but guess what? Why does it matter now? Come here. Why does it matter that these fights are gimmick or not now? It's so people can say, well, the 4s haven't fallen off. The 4s aren't down here anymore. They're actually, it's just a gimmick fight. Why would you even count that? Why would you even do that fight? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So just be very careful. Again, this is not one of those videos that's just like super in depth or anything. I just wanted to talk about the fact that, like, and you might notice this, I'll stick on here just so there's something to see, but one thing I'd say is that Dokkan is a purely PvE game with zero competitive viability as it stands. There is nothing to grade characters on if you're talking a strictly competitive lens, which means tier lists by and large are useless outside of things like, hey, this is a good character to try to pull because you'll have fun and it's worth this invisible money, quote unquote, called Dragon Stones, right? If you don't want to risk spending money, pull on these characters because they'll float your account so they can make more of the currency passively and then hopefully get characters you like in the future, right? It's sort of like Uma Musume, which is the horse gacha, or But like I look at this sometimes from someone who's played fighting games at a high level, from someone who's played MOBAs at a high level, from someone who's played other, you know, these other competitive games at a fairly high level, and I look at how obsessed with tier lists people are in Dokkan, and I'm like, what are you obsessed with? Why are you arguing who is top 3 in this game? Who cares? There is nothing to define the competitive viability of a unit in Dokkan. It is all made up. It isn't in a fighting game. It isn't in a MOBA. It isn't. Do you know what I'm saying? So try not to get too gaslit by this stuff. Remember that the only thing that matters when you're looking at a tier list, when you're evaluating a tier list, is understanding who might be good for your account, who might be fun for your account. If you have certain units, remember I always say pull on banners and pull on celebrations where they'll actually fill out a team. So like, for example, I think Omega probably was one of the best pulls in the entire game in the GDC. And you might be thinking, well, I think Omega is actually down here. But guess what? Omega's team got more buffs than anyone. It was so fun. His team is so fun to run. You might lose from time to time, but every character does, essentially. And if we're talking about a full team, a full unit, a full worth, you know, value proposition, he got so much more than Rose did, right? So it was more worth to pull on this DFE than this Carnival, certainly, right? Super bosses didn't get help. So yeah, you know, short little thing just to say, try not to get too caught up in the shit storm. None of this matters. And the only thing you should be evaluating, if you listen to me, I'm just some guy though, of course. The only thing you should be evaluating is value proposition and how fun is it for you. With all that being said though, like if you like the video, subscribe to the club, we all go make it, and peace.